and see what we can learn from this situation.
State leaders say there is still no indication whether the pipeline leak has been stopped in Snohomish County. In addition to that scramble at the airport, there are new concerns tonight about environmental impacts. KOMO senior reporter Chris Daniels is near that site and joins us now with more. Chris.
Yeah, Molly, that's because this whole saga is now 2 weeks old, and you can see the viewing over my shoulder where you see all those lights as we speak. BP is only saying at this point that they've excavated about 200 feet along the pipeline in a case that is now very similar to another one 2 years ago. Nearly out of public view, work crews are trying to put a plug in a crisis with widening proportions.
I've been focused on the way the oil industry moves oil through our state ever since the Exxon Valdez in '89, with commitment to making sure such a catastrophe doesn't happen here.
Fred Fellman is not speaking in his capacity as a Port of Seattle commissioner, but as a longtime environmental consultant, and says what he sees playing out in the blueberry fields concerns him.
Pipeline spills are quite different than those of ships in that they can go a long time before being detected.
Mhm.
And this is the great challenge with, I believe that appears to be in this case, that a small leak can persist for some time.
This is now the third known time the pipeline has leaked in the past 5 years. Just this week, the state's Department of Ecology fined BP nearly $4 million and is seeking cleanup costs after this December 2023 leak near Conway that led to 21,000 gallons of gasoline leaching into the soil in a nearby fish-bearing stream. The state ended up having to remove trees and clean up the contaminated land. That leak was blamed on a corroded carbon steel nut, and it followed another pipeline leak in Woodinville in 2020. Despite stern requests from Washington Senator Maria Cantwell late last week, BP still has not shed any light on how expansive this latest leak may be or the damage it may have caused, only to say that the shutdown, now 2 weeks in the making, and the work in these fields continues. Congresswoman Susan DelBene, who represents this district, and Senator Maria Cantwell's office both told me today they have been updated by BP on the situation. However, Cantwell had several questions she asked of BP on Friday that have not been answered, and they've not been answered to us either. Now, as far as the pipeline trust, the Olympic Pipeline Trust that was formed in 1999 after the catastrophic failure of the pipeline in Bellingham, they released a statement to me late this afternoon saying each new failure is a reminder that the Olympic Pipeline runs through our communities and every release demands accountability. These kinds of incidents cannot become routine. However, I did talk with Fred Fellman as well about what exactly may have transpired here and why it is taking so long for any sort of reporting on the pipeline's failure. That story coming up tonight at 6. But for now,
Absolutely crazy. Pipeline leaking underground. It's understandable that it's hard to detect. You won't know until you start seeing the effects of it. You start seeing some stuff getting into contaminating the water, plants dying, other things like that. But they got to do something. Either the pipe is too corroded, either they used, if certain sections of the pipe keeps leaking, then it is my thinking that eventually you just need to replace the whole pipe. But companies aren't going to want to do that. One, because costs is enormous amount of money, and they're trying to save as much money as they can. And two, they might have to most likely open them up to more lawsuits. But that's just my thinking. Let me know if you disagree or if I'm missing a certain point of it. Let's get over into this next video and see what else we can find out.
Developing tonight,
So it seems that the pipe leaking. The pipe leak is causing is causing travel delays. So let's get over into it.
Developing tonight, we have hit the 1 week mark of the shutdown of the Olympic pipeline, and the impact to passengers at SeaTac Airport is growing as the pressure builds on BP to find and fix the problem. Good evening, I'm Preston Phillips.
And I'm Mary Num. Airlines have started making adjustments. That means some direct flights are no longer nonstop.
We have team coverage tonight, including CT reporter Chris Daniels with an update on the investigation.
But we start with Michelle Esteban live at SeaTac Airport and the story she's hearing from passengers. Michelle?
Well, hi, guys. You get to the airport, right? And what do you want to do? You want to get on your plane and you want to get to your destination. I can tell you a number of folks, though, today, they got a text message from their airline saying, sorry, because of the pipeline, your plane is making a pit stop. The stories are starting to surface.
We anticipated there might be some delays. We're just glad we're getting out.
Andy Lawson's family's direct flight no longer nonstop.
We are flying to Atlanta. We are going to stop in Salt Lake instead of the direct flight we initially had. We're going to stop in Salt Lake and refuel, and then it's going to last about an hour.
Scheduling some long-haul flights to make a pit stop.
All right, question. Does that entitle me to a discount? Because usually direct flights are more expensive. But does that entitle me to a discount? Let's keep going.
Stop for jet fuel is one way airlines are dealing with being cut off abruptly from their jet fuel supply, right in the middle of one of the busiest holiday travel times. This is an important week.
It is. We're going to see my mother, my sister, our daughter, So, family trip.
Alaska Airlines told me 12 long-haul flights a day will make a stop to refuel.
We just got a notification that our Alaska Airlines flight was delayed today.
How's that sitting with you?
It's, a little bit of an inconvenience because we have dinner reservations in Texas, and so we might be late for our dinner reservations.
The Olympic pipeline sprung a leak 2 weeks ago and will remain shut down until BP crews find the source and make repairs. But the main contingency plan is this: a steady stream of tankers delivering to fuel farms at the Port of Seattle, which distributes the go juice to waiting aircraft at the gates. SeaTac says this time of year, cancellations are typical, but none so far are linked to the pipeline.
You're going to know before you get here whether or not your flight's going to happen.
Initially, we were more worried about the TSA and government shutdown stuff. So when it cleared, we were like, okay, we're good. And then the pipeline thing, we're like, okay, maybe not.
You get past one thing and something else pops up. Thought you was good because the government back open. Now the pipeline. And that's causing more delays. Let's keep going.
Love the fact that he's still laughing, though. You got to have a sense of humor here. Now, some of the routes impacted international flights as well as domestic. Some of the ones I saw here today: Boston, Atlanta, Hawaii, New York City. And remember, the crush is coming. The busiest days, Wednesday, Sunday, and Monday, with Sunday expected to be the busiest of all, with over 180,000 passengers here at SeaTac. Throw it back to you.
Michelle, how and when are passengers getting notified if their flight is interrupted or affected by the pipeline?
Well, they typically, what I found today is anecdotally, they are getting text messages from their carriers. And that's probably because they signed up for those kinds of notifications. But it's really a good idea, right, to check with your airline, go to the app, go online, double check on the flight status. And as always, get here early.
I'll be sick. I mean, ain't nothing you can do about it, but it would be an inconvenience. Would make me a little upset, but I mean, you just got to do what you got to do. At least they are getting there, and you got one extra stop. But let's get over to this next video.
A massive pipeline from Oregon to Washington has been turned off for weeks after an oil leak was detected. There are now concerns that it could affect holiday travelers. CBS News correspondent Chanel Call has been monitoring the situation from our CBS newsroom. Chanel, thank you for joining us today. Do drivers in the Pacific Northwest need to be concerned about this?
Well, at this point, I should note, Mugo, that there isn't a shortage of fuel in Oregon. But this step, the declaration of a state of emergency that the governor there took today, was essentially in an attempt to try to prevent that situation from happening. Now, the reason that there is a bit of concern there is because the Olympic pipeline is shut down right now. And of course, the timing here is so important because we're in the middle of this very busy holiday Thanksgiving week where so many people are going to be traveling and they're going to need fuel to be able to do that, whether you're taking a plane or driving a car or riding in a bus, right? So this is an essential need right now. That's why the governor took this step today. Now, the reason this shutdown is so significant, Mugo, is because this is a pipeline that runs from Washington all the way to Oregon. It supplies, by the way, more than 90% of that state's fuel. The leak was reported on November 11th, Mugo. Now we know the entire pipeline has been shut down since November 17th. Washington state's governor also declared a state of
Wow, do y'all
emergency.
see that fuel? Look, the undercover, that's got to be some fuel mixed in with the dirt.
5 days ago. They did this also to ensure that fuel is delivered to the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport ahead of this very important Thanksgiving week. I want to read you part of a statement that was sent out last night by BP with a bit of an update here. So they say Olympic pipeline crews have now identified the source of a release of refined products east of Everett, Washington. Testing conducted today confirmed a leak in the 20-inch pipeline. There were no indications of a leak in the 16-inch pipeline. Crews are developing a repair plan for the 20-inch segment, and plans for a partial restart are being developed, and an updated restart timeline will be provided when available. It also goes on to say the safety of personnel, the environment, and the community remain our highest priority. So at this point, still a couple of big unanswered questions. I mean, we still don't know how much fuel was actually released here, but BP says that it is now working with a couple of different agencies, so federal, local, tribal authorities, to try to figure out how they can assess the situation very quickly and deal with that cleanup. Again, the governor today declaring this state of emergency so they can make sure they have enough fuel for this important Thanksgiving week. Back to you.
Absolutely crazy. If it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not one thing, it's another. People thought that they were been fine flying, but then a pipeline leak. Now, remember, this isn't the first time this pipeline has leaked. It's leaked before, twice before. If it keeps leaking, eventually they're just going to have to replace the whole thing. But the company is not going to want to do that because that's just going to cause them more money. Probably open them up to more lawsuits. It's a crazy situation. But it looks like they have found the source of the leak and they are underway coming up with a plan to repair. I think the plan would be easy to repair, it'd be easy to come up with a plan to repair it because you've repaired it twice before. But hey, they got to do what they got to do. Absolutely crazy, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on that situation. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. Have you been affected by this? Or have you even heard about this? More pollution in the ground, more pollution in the ground. But we got to review the world together, y'all. We got to review the world together.